3.5 minutes and I could make a lot of comments, but I'm going to try and be focused. And what I see before me, and I've read the documents as best I can, struggled through them, is an unholy mess has been created. That's just some of the documents that we have tried to get down off the, through the computer. And that unholy mess completely suits the entity that is St Vincent's Holding, under that St Vincent's Healthcare Group, and under that the new Maternity Hospital DSC, which is a complete subsidiary of the other and of the other. We can't get away from the Trinity. We have the male Trinity at the top. We have the male Trinity here. We simply can't get away from it, it would seem. And so we are here today because of the outrage, the upset and the lack of trust by the majority of women and men in Ireland in relation to this. I disagree with you, Minister Butler, and I have the greatest respect for you. There has been no debate or little on this other than what was forced by opposition repeatedly. We used 3 private motions time and Sinn Féin used other times to force a debate. We have committed people on the ground who have been demonised for daring to ask a question. So let me go around in a circle, and we start in 2013, although it started before that with the accountant's report. 2013, the first male Minister for Health tells us co-location is wonderful. We all agree. I'm not in the Dáil at the time. I take the experts' advice, co-location is the way to go. Fast forward 4 ministers later, no co-location anymore, complete integration into the trinity of ownership of companies, Minister, and you shook your head earlier on. Companies, albeit with a charitable status, private company, private company, private company, albeit with charity status. Let's make English mean something here. Private companies. And the change that has happened for Mulvey is simply that, and I welcome those changes, we are now appointing 3 directors to the new company. That's a welcome change. And there's also a golden share. I've no idea what that means other than what I've read. But it doesn't reassure me in any way. In this sense, I don't know how that's going to operate. What is the process around that? If somebody is at a disadvantage in the hospital because it's not been run the way it should, will that woman or man or anybody in that family be able to appeal to the minister? Do you understand? We need guidelines around when that lovely golden share is going to be used or how it's used. We have here a complete situation where St Vincent's, whatever they were named, absolutely refused to give over ownership, and this government, previous governments, never came back and said, look, they're not giving us ownership, we're going for a completely different model. You never told us. You never told us when the nuns gifted their share to the new entity, on what basis. Was revenue involved in that? What was the value of it? I understand at some share that at some point that was a 600 million value. What value was it? What conditions were attached to it, if any? You might clarify that. Never been clarified. Has anyone seen the correspondence under which they were allowed to divest of that very valuable asset to a new entity? Where is the correspondence all around of that? Clinically appropriate has meant so many things to different people that I've listened to. Sometimes it means all legally permitted, and we're supposed to be reassured by that, all legally permitted procedures. Then we hear from other experts it's to mean we're not going to have brain surgery. Can you imagine? We're not going to have other services here, it's maternity. Now, I have no idea, really, why we can't have a public hospital on a public site. It is not ownership, Deputy Collins. I'll finish up. Leasehold is not ownership. It's leasehold of the land. We don't even own the hospital. So please, you might say it's technical, but there is no ownership here whatsoever. And we finish up by going around in a circle and we blame those who dare to ask a question. You know where I despair the most? When the deputy chair of the National Maternity Hospital went on the National Airways to reassure us. And I thought, and I have to say quite honestly and openly at Kiancorla, I thought, sweet Jesus, what have we done as women to allow somebody like this speak in our name and attempt to reassure us that we own this hospital and we go to this labyrinthine thing for what? To serve the interests of the St Vincent's Healthcare Group, which is owned by St Vincent. Thank you for your tolerance. Thank you for your tolerance.
Thank you for your contribution, Deputy.